The following video contains content some viewers might find disturbing. The views and opinions expressed here are not facts and are nothing more than entertainment. The views and opinions are not facts and do not represent the views and opinions of Xirtus or our channel, and do not necessarily represent or reflect the views of the guests, YouTube, Google, mainstream media, society, or civilization at large, or anybody. Viewer discretion is advised.
What's up?
Hey,
Gunbu made it.
Did you know that the Koreans were Arabs? Or is that right? Is that how that opens?
Yeah, I mean, it's Islamically canonized as East Asians being the sons of Japheth.
Look at this. Look at this. This is real. And it's not even AI generated. Sorry.
Oh yeah, there's Muslims in Korea as of recent due to the evangelism efforts by Saudis in Seoul specifically. There's a mosque in Seoul.
So what's going on with the Arab Muslims? Because like I saw this thing talking about Turkic relations with like Korea and Japan 100 years ago. But there's like names of cities that are Arabic or what? Gunwu got this whole thing for us. Tell us about this.
I mean, I mean, you have like the infamous cities in Japan, Musashi and Isashi. Was pointed out by David Ewing and all. But like
Esau, Esau, Isashi.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm not really too familiar on terms of
Every single one of them, yeah. But
yeah,
there's some
right.
examples there in Japan. But yeah, Korea's got some more ones. All right. And you showed also this ancient South Arabic script, which looks like freaking Nordic runes, right?
Right. So like, yeah, this was what I was telling you about, going off on a tangent on the origins of the Ainu people.
This is
The
ancient
reason
Arabic.
why this South Arabic script is important is because it relates to the Yi people in the province of Yunnan in China. So
Huh.
let me actually just preface this. Yeah, about 2 days ago, for some reason, I don't know if it's autism or not. I just wake up with these random urges to like research something. I'd be like dead asleep at
Probably because your
3 a.m.
drill sergeant hit you. No, keep going.
No, but like it'd be 3 a.m. I'd be dead asleep. I wake up and and it was like, oh, I gotta research the fucking Ainu people, and then suddenly I'll be on like an 8-hour tangent, and then
Well, I hope it's not schizophrenia, because otherwise, what's my excuse when I wake up in the middle of the night studying Ainu people? But yeah, keep going.
right. Like, but then like I went off on this tangent for like 2 days, and like I ended up finding concrete evidence of the Persian link between the Ainu and yeah,
Really?
yeah, pretty much.
Well, that's kind of interesting, because a lot of people connect the Ainu to Nordics, but you just showed Chinese Arabic, so I don't know what's happening. I'm gonna let you just go. All right.
Right. Fuck. Okay. I don't know where to start.
Well, it's like every direction. Now you feel how I feel, because people will be like, "Wow, where do you?"
Right. Okay, so it's because this is a very. Because like in order for this to make sense, you have to follow like the streamlined timeline of migrations, right? So like,
Mark, did you ever see an ancient Japanese person? Did you know that the ancient Japanese were pretty much white? And like actually modern anime movies are about the Ainu people, which is why often they look pretty much white in the movies. It's because they're a different race.
Isn't that like what's going on with the Uyghurs in China, right? Aren't
they
like white hair? Yeah. I know about that.
The same bloodline essentially, but what's been happening is like anthropologists have been suggesting that there's like this like a European, Indo-European, well, not Indo-European, but like rather like a Slavic link between the Ainu, which I mean, yeah, sure, right? And there's a Slavic link between Koreans due to the traversal of Tartary and all, but the biggest thing is. The Slavic connection with the Ainu is very, very loose, but more so like I became vindicated on the Persian connection, mainly because I found I came across this documentary that was featured by Asha Logos called The Redheads. It was talking about the Maori people. There's a Persian Maori tribe in New Zealand that was thought to be extinct, but there's a surviving matriarch which had her DNA confirmed to be Persian. So like I was just like tracing that lineage, and then came across the Aboriginals of Taiwan, and then was looking into their language, right? So like the Ainu language, right, sounds very much like Japanese, but it really isn't. It could be considered a dialect, if not, but like more so the Japanese language was influenced or was derived from the Ainu.
And adapted by like once you introduce Confucianism, you can see
right. And then not only that, the Yao Yi, the Korean influence on Japan much later.
By the way, for people who don't know about Taiwan, check out a picture. It's gonna load. I'm sorry. Oh, your horrible internet. Here, how about this one? Maybe this one will load. Yeah, this is what when you think of Taiwan,
Taiwanese people look like this. Is crazy.
It's crazy because they have This is like, let me show you like Slavic traditional clothing real quick, right? And it's just exactly the same,
right, which is why anthropologists draw like a connection between Slavic, the European DNA with the Ainu, but more so it's Indo-European with the Persian link.
And that's because if you look for the Illyrian DNA, you go back to Persia. So there is something Persian going on here. Yeah. Okay.
But I found out, so like when the Persians or Scythians or Sogdians, whatever these Yamnaya culture Indo-Europeans that came from the Pannonian Basin, when they were migrating east towards Asia, they split off, one going north, one going south. That DNA chart haplogroup that I DM'd you, Andreas.
Let me see if I can find that one.
Yeah, it traces the R1A Iranian people down, and then eventually forming the NO and haplogroup reaching Asia. But there was a southern migration towards Yunnan. Anthropologists conclude that the southern Indo-Aryan migration stopped in Yunnan, but evidence suggests they continued further east into Formosa, meeting up with the haplogroup O.
Dude, I'm trying to show it, but I got so much AI
Right.
art, it's like ruining it. Hold on.
And not only that, the funniest thing is these people, this Aryan indigenous group that traveled to Yunnan are called the Yi, right? It is, but then like the Yi are most notably known in the north being the ancestors of the Koreans and the Japanese, the Dong Yi or the Yamato as they call it, right? And then you also have the Jeonju Yi, which is the Korean royal lineage. But it's so funny that they made it down to Yunnan. And the reason why Yunnan's also very important, right? The word Yunnan, what really bothered me this entire time when I was studying about Tartaria is that the word Yunnan, there's a province in China called Yunnan. Meanwhile, in Turkish, the word Yunanistan means Greece. So why the hell is there a province called Greece in China? And no, but like we both know as covered in previous episodes that like Asiatic languages take after Turkish. So this will make complete sense. This Yunanistan Yunnan connection, right?
Yeah, there's a couple of things there that are interesting there. So first off, Yunnan sounds kind of like Helen, right? So the Greece was the Hellenist people and Hellenism. The other thing is that the Greeks a lot of the time called them, they didn't pronounce the H, so they pronounced it like Eon. So like the Eonians or something like that. The Ionians were
the Ionian, yeah.
Ionian.
yeah.
So the Union, so it's weird. That makes perfect sense. And they had boats that would have got to China. Like, there's no reason that they wouldn't have gone. Like, every myth is about them going off to like the farthest ends of. Sounds like China, you know.
Right. So like, and also the big thing I want to point out, as I mentioned, the Yi people. I'm gonna give you the Wikipedia link in there.
Sure.
But yeah, so this is the reason why the South area, the Arabian script link is so important, is because these Yi people in Yunnan, China, uses damn near the exact same script, which looks like Old Turkic, right?
Yeah, let's pull
but we
this up
know
here. Here's
Old
the Yi
Turkic.
people. Check out their cool outfits. And again, like, you have to remember what's happened in China. So genetically, everyone's kind of been forced to become the status quo peoples, but they're culturally, they're still, you can see the outfits that they put on their kids. And
they look Peruvian, bro.
Yeah, the Peruvian hat even. I see that. That is really interesting. But I mean, okay. And they all
look into the language. Look into the language. That's what I want to point out. The comparison between the South Arabian script
chandelier
and the Yi language.
Is this it? The script here?
Yeah, that pretty much is the script, right?
Wow. Okay, and it has
do
like
side-by-side comparison with the South Arabian script.
Where did I find the South Arabian script? Is that the other link?
It's in your DMs.
Yeah, let me go back up to that.
I even have the video of the Yi people in your DMs as well. But also the one thing I wanted to mention, Islam is huge in Yunnan. The CCP is trying to bury this information, right? Like, they don't want this to be public.
But I remember seeing, like 10 years ago, I remember watching, because I used to have CCP and I remember watching Chinese Communist television showing a documentary from Yunnan of an Arabic Muslim Chinese guy, and he's teaching how to do traditional calligraphy, and he's painting like a single letter all huge and showing. And so there is a deep culture there that's connected to and again, keep going. Sorry. Here's the picture.
Oh no. Like, I'm glad you're adding on the top of this, because like, I work better when I'm bouncing back, popcorning ideas, right? So yeah, and then like the province of Yunnan, especially if you look at the Wikipedia page and scroll all the way down, you'll come across what is pictured as the Gucheng Mosque, which
is that the red one? This guy there, this one?
No, it's in your DMs.
Okay.
This we're still on the Yi people Wikipedia. The Gucheng Mosque is in your DMs.
Hold on a second.
But yeah, pretty much looks like the typical Asian castle.
This guy here,
right, with Arabic inscriptions on it. If you look, if
really,
if you zoom in closely.
Oh man, it's gonna be hard to zoom with because this Facebook thing.
Right, but
But,
you can still see it
the
somewhat.
gold,
Those
the gold
yeah,
there is
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
Arabic for sure. That's not
Islam
Chinese
is
symbols.
huge in Yunnan, bro. It's insane. Like there's
Wow.
definitely Persian legacy in Yunnan. And then you go further like later, like this is the Austronesian connection with the Aborigines in Australia as well. Why there's black people in New Guinea and Australia when, you know, as per modern academia, like Africans didn't even have the wheel. How are we supposed to believe these people had, you know, intercontinental trade and travel?
Unless they had a lot
Traversal,
more
right?
things than we admit
Right?
they had, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, this is the whole reason why there's black people in New Guinea, parts of the Philippines, Indonesia. Why is Islam is huge in Indonesia, and why is there Aborigines in um, Australia? And not to mention, if you compare the phonetics of the Ainu language, the Taiwanese Aboriginal language, and the Maori language, they sound exactly the same with very slight differentiating, you know, variants. Yeah,
That's
if you
really
wanna,
interesting. So, like, again, you know, and I know we're doing this a lot to talk about things that interest us more than contemporary events, but it's
right?
kind of weird how everything we're interested in still, it kind of has some sort of, like, I see this as very relevant and pressing. If you think about how China's looking at its relationship to the Middle East through its historical understanding of Turkey, Greece, Persia,
Mhm.
Arabic culture, you know, like this is kind of there. It's something that really plays into how China is, you know, choosing to view itself and
Yeah,
its
not only
relation to the
that,
world.
formation of BRICS, they're starting to embrace Tartar history and like, you know, whatever, anything related to Tartars
Yeah.
to strengthen their relations with Afghanistan for their lithium deals. Um,
Hmm.
and
Right.
then they're also using the Tartars you know, mythos to, you know, expand their land claims, especially with North Korea because they want Mount Pektu.
Right.
Yeah.
And have you seen? So you saw what's going on with North Korea, right? Like North Korea is mobilizing troops and everything. Like so,
Oh
like
yeah,
North
dude.
Korea is getting involved with international everything because of their. So part of the deal, though, is to make North Korea more relevant afterwards, right? Like the whole point
Mhm.
is that North Korea wants to have resources put into it so that they can become an open state because it wants to be an open state where people are proud to visit now. So
Right, right.
things are transitioning very fast. I mean, it's interesting.
Also, on the mention of how history relates to current events, I mean that's essentially how we all got here. You know, like every past event pretty much is like a domino building block to what influences current events, current ideologies, and how we operate. Right. So it's
Yeah.
like, you know, people tend to with this new age secularism, they tend to dismiss history like altogether. But you know, as we all know colloquially, that like without any knowledge of history, there's no future, right? Because like
Yeah.
how are you supposed to determine what your ancestors actually strive for if you have no tangent to your past?
I mean, I see the snake. Is that a snake or something right there? Maybe
Oh
that's just
yes.
smoke,
Wait,
but
hold on. Those look like streamers.
it could be a string. Yeah, okay. But like there is, yeah, it seems also interesting like that symbolism repeats itself, that we see the same
Hmm.
symbolism repeating over and over again. There was a new discovery made this week in England. They discovered British coins that were minted with a king that they hadn't heard of yet.
Ooh.
Let's see if I can find that.
But also more on this Persian Scythian link with East
Yeah.
Asia as
Yeah.
you're trying to
Just really
find it.
quickly, I was just gonna say Isunertos, apparently. This is this new, like they'd never heard of him before. And then now they say, okay, there was an Iron Age British king, Isunertos. So,
He
but
sounds
yeah.
Spanish.
Yeah, doesn't it seem, or some, maybe
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of, it does kind of sound
Latin.
Celtic. Yeah.
Latin?
What's the Scythian?
Oh yeah, so the huge thing. So the Druze people, you know how like their
Mhm.
origins are very enigmatic. So
The Druze are like also a cult, right? They're a religion or
not
what?
necessarily a cult. No, they're an ethnic group that has suffered persecution, kind of like the Kagits for
The
some reason.
Order of the Eastern Star in the Freemasons women's group gets their symbol from the Druze pentacle.
I mean, yeah, the Freemasonry comes from Sufi Islam, so it makes complete sense, right?
But they're not that weird. So they're an Abrahamic, monotheistic, syncretic, ethnic religion,
Right.
and they're from where? From Afghanistan or like?
Syria, Lebanon mainly,
Okay,
in that
okay,
region, right? So like you have the Druze, right? And their whole shtick is those, those colors, those 5 elemental
You don't
colors.
look Druish. Yeah, exactly.
Right. But then you see those colors appear all across Asia and into the Americas eventually, right? Let me pull it up actually.
Yeah, go ahead. While you do that, I'll just pull up my favorite Spaceballs meme because it's just like, how freaking relevant can you be? I don't know. Mark, do you like Spaceballs?
It was all right. Long time ago.
Do you have
remember it?
Do you like any Mel Blanc films, or is that like Mel Brooks?
Mel Brooks.
Yeah,
it's a mad world. It's pretty good.
That is
It's an old one. It's very long. But
that's a brilliant movie. Good call. Did he make that? That's what Mel Brooks won?
Pretty sure he made it.
Blazing Saddles. Everyone doesn't like Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, Blazing Saddles. There you go.
Although his movies, the jokes come slow. You know what I mean? Like Spaceballs was amazing when I was a kid. When you watch Spaceballs now, the jokes come slow. There's like a lot of space and dead air where you're done laughing, but nothing is starting to happen.
Stanley Kramer died the day after my birthday, and he made all of these crazy. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which was actually pretty interesting if you're into that. K Mutiny, which is like hilarious if you count Strawberry Powder.
Did Mel Brooks have anything to do with it? I thought he had something to do with it at least. I guess not.
I don't see no Brooks.
I guess not. I don't know why I thought that.
I don't know. Yeah.
But I think Blazing Saddles is the best Mel Brooks film.
Is Kurt making it? Kurt, what's up? We're talking about Scythian, Druish, Turkic links. Are you pulling up your screen, Gumwoo?
Yeah, hold on. Give me a sec. Yeah, I finally got it.
How you doing, Kurt?
Great. How are you?
Check out the Druze. So the Druze are an Abrahamic religion that you probably didn't hear about that are kind of like Zoroastrian influenced. And so you can think about like Christianity got a certain way in Europe, right? And Greeks made it another way. Okay. So the same thing with like Arabs made Gnostic Christianity more Arabic. And so you've got Islam out of that. But the Persians weren't Arabs. Not really. Like if you get to the Turanian Empire, you see that they're into Zoroastrianism and they have their own religion and they look different and their art looks different. So Zoroastrianism influenced the Druze religion a lot more. And they have this founder who is kind of really their like prophet, Hamza ibn Ali. And he kind of said like that there needed to be like a new way to like synchronize like the faiths. But really they were saying, that it's not that there was 7 darknesses and 7 lights that were equal, but there was like a singular truth. I don't know. Did you find your? Oh, here it is.
Yeah. So I've personally emailed several Druze
based
elders within like Lebanon to see if I can get in.
Nice work. Because you don't look like a Mormon cracker, so they'll probably
right. So I was trying to argue that like following the lineage of Japheth, that possibly I could be one of the Druze, right? Because I'm finding this all over Asia, right? So this is Tibet.
So,
the Buddhist dreamers.
Just to back it up, you're saying though that they require hereditarily some reason that you could join. You can't just choose to join, and you're like, no, I think I can because there's proof that the Koreans were underneath this flag at some point.
Right. So this is Tibet, the Buddhist streamers that you see like everywhere. Which if you look at any like monastery in Tibet, you see those like
prayer flags.
Prayer flags. And then you get fucked.
You get fucked? What did I miss?
Where the hell? There it is. And this is Korea. This is the Buddhist temple in Korea. Also the same thing, right? And then you have, where the hell is it? The Mexican papel picado, right? How, the syncretic and the culture, the stretching from like all the way from Middle East to Asia to Mexico, having the same cultural syncretics of the specific color tone palette and, hanging from the ceiling streamers.
It is pretty uncanny.
Right. Like,
oh, that was it. They took him out. They're like, "That's the last."
Did you remove him, or did he just?
I didn't. I couldn't let him go on. He was getting too close to the truth. So, all right, maybe if he behaves himself, we'll let him back into the stream. No, I didn't do that. I think he accidentally closed the window. But this is a perfect time for you guys to talk about how you feel. How's this making you feel? What do you think about?
I feel very confused and I have no idea what the hell we're talking about, but that's normal for me.
Yeah, at least you know who you're engendered by. You know?
Oh yeah, sorry. I meant to click on stop sharing screen, but then I clicked off the entire screen. But yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, people are in denial. The Israelites or the Scythians or whatever, like, made it to the Americas, even though we all know academically that the Native Americans came from Asia, right? But we're under this impression that they crossed the Bering Strait in the Neolithic era, like, absent of all culture, because they were just hunter gatherers. But if you look further deep, they're Scythian, or like they're Scythian with heavy.
You'll find
Korean
the Chinese
influence.
bells, right? Like, so the prayer
Right?
bells, you find them in Peru and you find them in Turkey, right? And you find the
Right.
earlier bells in Turkey.
Not only that, a friend of mine within the group chat that you and I are a part of, the secret group chat, pointed out that the Beothuk people, have a DNA.
That sounds so dirty.
Specifically unique to the Druze people, but the second highest presence of Druze DNA is within the Beothuk Native Americans in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they have Scythian, like they have the same literally haplotype. Yeah, so that's kind of the proof right there. And it's also just the idea of culture everywhere being tied, because we've been talking a bit about how in the 70s AD, 70s AD, like 1,000 years ago or 2,000 if you're not flamenco, the end of the temple, Jews are pouring out of Israel. So when they're all leaving, right, like the idea that they're getting on boats and going all over the place, that is the story. So it's not that long ago also that you also have more people that are coming back and forth.
Right. So yeah, it's the haplogroup X DNA that appears in just the Druze population and North America. I'll give you the link in a private chat.
I mean, of course it would be X. That it'd have to be like marks the spot. Okay. Weird.
Right.
Weird.
It only appears.
What?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
And there's no central link.
That's crazy. That's blowing my mind. Look at the epicenters. The only way you have epicenters like that is through water, right? Like you have to.
Bering Strait across with the Korean people, which is why we have the same elemental colors, and which is why it's incorporated everywhere.
Dude,
across Asia, because these people crossed into the Americas.
Yeah, but there was a land bridge back in the day, wasn't there?
Yeah, but the thing is,
epicenter. Look at the epicenter here. The epicenter is Istanbul, and the other epicenter is in Canada. In like I was gonna say in the Beaver Bay, right?
Yeah.
So in Hudson Bay. So what the heck? Because what that means is that it's not from a land bridge. It means that you've got boats that ended up going from one point to another point without like spreading through the middle, and then these outward spread are from people that didn't go back and forth, that just lived in the area and spread out.
Right.
So you're talking about royals and mercantile class.
There's two theories here. Like you mentioned, that they could have either traversed their boats, leaving no middle contact or middlemen, right? Or they traversed through Korea and due to racial mixing or whatever, have completely buried their original haplogroup until some of the more pure ones ended up in Canada.
This could be explainable because, you look at how the Catholics forced celibacy. Certain tribes were forced celibacy. Conquered people, their first generation were neutered, or they were forced into celibacy. So it's not that surprising to find certain genes disappear and other genes are really specifically only royal families, so they're not really interacting with the rest of the population.
Not to mention that the genocide campaigns North Americans had against Native Americans, to going as far as to the extent of killing off the bison population just to starve these people out. And not only that, the beginnings of compulsory education in America starts with Native American boarding schools, and in which they intentionally set up so they can either whitewash these people out.
Yeah, it's a mad world was written by Mel Brooks and Ludwig.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. I thought Mel Brooks was connected to it.
I love that movie.
I love additional information because it's just a bunch of things I miss because like I said, this was only something I researched 2 days ago.
Most of these 19th century books, like, will say the American Indians tribes are associated with lost tribes of Israel.
Yes!
And this thing upsets so many people because
this
they're like,
goes back as far as the 14th century. I got books from Oxford about this shit.
I mean, the more you find out, like, the stories of people leaving where they were from, going to other places, and then those people going to other places, the more it makes sense, because you've got Scythians that were supposedly like Tartar tribes, and we have maps that show they come from like Palestine or from Egypt. So all over the world, right? So what does it like leave us with then? Because the thing is, then you've got two kinds of societies that have emerged out of this. This isn't Tartaria anymore. This is New Atlantis. But you have this sort of what's left in China and like what's left around the world of this Arabic culture. But then you have all of this Tartar or these 12 tribe cultures that have emerged everywhere in all of these nations, right? So this is kind of relevant today also because you have a state that's made of people that have been exiled from their state originally, but they're coming back and they're bringing all their Nauvoo culture with them.
Which is why in the book of Revelations it states that like until the Israelites return back to Israel, New Jerusalem will not form. Which is why the European expeditions into the Americas happen, also into Asia, to find these lost tribes, to return them back to Israel so they can, you know, form the millennial kingdom again.
But remember, like, you looking at this map, even like looking for the sorts of that haplotype. Like, yeah, I guess it could be Israel, but doesn't it look more like the Istanbul to Ukraine? Right? Because this area here.
Right, but that's just accounting for the Druze, you know.
Well, true, but haplotype, we're going with haplotype X. I think
right in the entirety. Gotcha. I mean, yeah. If we prefer to go by David Ewing's theory on like, you know, does that, you know, it's the epicenter makes perfect sense because Jerusalem was in Istanbul. The old Jerusalem.
Well, I mean, yeah. Let me look at this again for a second.
I remember hearing that like the Mayans came from like Canada. I don't know where I heard that, like that they migrated down. Like if you follow the corn, like the corn,
might as well. They came from the Bering
like
Strait, so it's this top down migration. So yeah,
and like the Native Americans were the ones that just stopped. You know, like some would settle in North America, some settled in Canada. You know,
there's also Fu Sang. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. The Korean Chinese colony in Mexico.
Really? I'll go there for a second. I was going to look at the north because you look at the Haida and you look at some of the north tribes and you can see some of the interesting ideas like the Haidas costumes and art. There is definitely a connection to the Slavic culture, right? They have the same kind of crazy drawings and everything, and their spirit, like their Shintoist spirit of like, you know, animal spirits like the whale and everything.
Oh yeah, the animalism and all. Yeah.
What's the Mexican Asian thing you're saying? Fu Sang?
Fu Sang, yeah. So it is. So Fu Sang, like people, Koreans like to argue that it's a Korean colony because the oldest maps are that depict Fu Sang are from Korea.
Interesting.
And not only that, they're stored in the Library of Congress for some reason. Like the Library of Congress is Korean maps of Fu Sang. I have no idea why. But so yeah, there's that. But like, you know, modern academia is saying that this is Chinese, and of course they attribute everything Asian as Chinese. But yeah, the fact that we have a documented record of during the Joseon era of, you know, of either Buddhists or like a monks or whatever going to the Americas and establishing a colony, it's public information.
It's crazy how many of these colonies have been kind of forgotten or erased. And yet, like, especially in California, it wasn't until like the World War II in the 40s when we really pushed for it. So where I live, there are streets still that have Japanese names, but they're only in like the backwoods where like the farmers live in Watsonville. And most places that had, you know, Japanese Californians or Koreans or Chinese, we think of the Japanese who were brought to the internment camps, but they don't know is that a lot of people were picked up who weren't Japanese, who were just Asian, because like, well, maybe they're, you know, part of this thing. So they would just pick up whole families, and not just in California, like all along the coast. I mean, Chile and Peru. Chinese so the CIA, people, before the CIA, the OSS, they would like pick up people in the middle of the night. Yeah.
Chinese people had to go around wearing a badge saying that I am Chinese to avoid getting internment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so they took like, so Japanese Peruvians would be kidnapped, drugged, wake up in a cargo plane, taken to Alabama and dropped off, and all of a sudden they'd be like, "K," because they didn't speak Japanese; they spoke Spanish.
Holy
and then the other
shit.
and the Brazilians too, right? So Portuguese, and then the other Japanese Americans who were from California, who could only speak Californian English, had no idea what to do with them. So there was a lot of prejudice against the Japanese South Americans in the camps, and they didn't have any understanding what to do because they weren't legally there.
Right.
So when it got to the point where they were supposed to send them home, they didn't, and they stayed in the camps for longer. And then when they finally let them out, they just let them out into the United States. So they were illegally in the United States. So some of them got home, but their land was long gone.
I had no idea there was like some orphan train situation going on.
Then in the 1970s, when they finally apologized, the United States government wrote a written apology and gave some nominal fee to Japanese American citizens who'd had their families broken apart and their lands taken from them when they were like American citizens who were farmers, right? So they lost their farms, which is a bigger deal. It wasn't just an apartment or something. They apologized to the Japanese American citizens. So not only did they not get the check, but they didn't even really get an apology because the apology was only to the
American citizens.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Well, I don't know. I think this is relevant in a lot of ways. A lot of like what we're saying is a deep rabbit hole about like Asian American culture and everything. But it seems like it's also about what's going on right now with the breakup of the Palestinian people. Like, because it's an exact same, like, it's a reflection.
It follows the same playbook. You know how like David Ewing always likes to point out the number 19. For me, it's the year 1947 that has the most significance. Everywhere across the world through Operation Gladio, there's a bunch of nations just got split in half. Through in 1947, you have Palestine, Korea, Vietnam, and like Berlin, Germany, bunch of places.
Right. I mean, but when you break up a people, the next thing you do is you force them to adopt 12 different cultures, right? Because they're going to go to 12 different countries, and they're going to start to lose themselves in that process.
Yeah, the diaspora. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it seems like this is like the plan, right? Like you just break up one culture at a time this way. You just take everyone out of a country, and by the time they solidify again, break up that country. And it seems like it takes about 200 years. You completely
separate people from its original roots, which allows them to be easily more manipulated with this false narrative of history that we have.
Kurt, you got thoughts on this?
I think the subject is just it's not my field.
Me neither. Seth?
Don't be afraid. Don't ever be afraid.
Welcome back, Seth, by the way. We missed you, Seth.
We missed you, Seth.
Thanks. Yeah, I think the comparison of all the histories is what's really interesting. But somebody in the chat was like, "Oh, you can just make up all these stories and talk about them or whatever." But Socrates said you can gain easily what others have toiled hard for through reading. So somebody studies every detail of a thing and then condenses it so you can read it, and then somebody even smarter condenses it into like a concept that can be delivered in a mouthful. And so those were all the details, though, about that subject, because then people will say, how do we know that's not made up? Well, no claims are being made, but here's pictures of people wearing the same clothes and same hats and places that weren't connected and stuff like that. So it's like that is all the details that goes into knowledge. And then somebody can condense it into a simple concept for you. But there's the actual hard work part of it. Right. And what's interesting is comparing all these things. And then we want to extrapolate from that. How do we move on into the future, bearing that knowledge?
I mean, is it a little bit of a slippery slope going, because these hats look similar to these hats, I mean, they're connected? Because, I mean, people do have, like, ideas that are similar.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you can't just assume that they mean the same things. The other thing is, like, the reason why someone does something might be a different reason. But there's also the interesting thing where if people do the same thing, it often can have the same results, whether they mean to do it for one reason or another either. So there's something that is a priori about it that is just, it makes sense that we do it, like why, or what is this story of dragons from, and so there's always the other way to look at it, which is probably dragons are a little more than the original truth, but everyone's got some part of this milieu of the story. So when we start looking at it, we're like, okay, giant birds, giant reptiles, all these things, there's a lot of stuff there that is true, and it's made its way into every culture. So we might as well find like the similarities. And I think the thing is, people get really upset about finding similarities. More and more people are saying, don't do that. Find the distinction. And
Right, you're fighting
that.
patterns that don't exist. It's like it's all.
But it's like, what's wrong
dissonance.
with looking at patterns and looking at similarities? Because like it shouldn't be that dangerous. And it seems like the idea is it brings people closer.
And also
together.
accepting that all patterns are mathematical, and mathematics are understood throughout the entire human race, no matter what language or culture, and it's all the same. Your engineering doesn't work if you have, alternative types of mathematics. There's only one type of math, and that's where the patterns come from. So it's like, but it is interesting that in Mexico, you see, South America, you see like a lot of corners, and in China, you see like a lot of like smooth edges and stuff like that. So there are cultural differences, but even like Mark was saying, just because they look the same, do we know that they're related directly? But it's interesting if the answer to that is no, also, because then all people are related directly to some source of creativity and mathematics and these ideas to create art and patterns in the first place.
Well, we're all trying to solve a lot of the same problems, even though we may be in different parts of the world. Like one civilization in a different part of the world, they both come up with the wheel. Well, yeah, because they're both trying to solve the same damn problem. So we're going to arrive at a lot of the same solutions.
Right. I get that kind of logic, but also
so you're wrong, Gunwoo. I'm just kidding.
No, it's interesting either way. I think he's probably right. But.
I completely get that train of thought, right? I've dealt with these personal questions myself. It's like being exposed to this kind of information, you kind of lose your mind, so you second guess yourself all the time. So, but then like the reason why I'm vindicated that this stuff is actually real is because of all these out of place enigmatic artifacts, cultures, languages, scripts that don't seem to align with the modern narrative, that like no one really seems to have an answer for, and it's all just excused away with infantile narratives, right? That they're just they were just borrowed or whatever, it doesn't make sense. Like
there's also a lot of things. Okay, so there's a movie that just came out a couple years ago, 125 Year Memory. Have you seen this one yet from Japan? No. I don't know if you don't watch every single Japanese movie that comes out. Am I racist or are you? I don't know. But so here's the thing with this movie. It's about this Turkish ship that hit off the coast in 1890 Japan and started off modern relations with Turkey and Japan and what they did at the time. And so what's interesting also is even the way the movie goes, the boat hitting it is kind of reminiscent of another boat that had they kind of insinuate like, oh, this is a reestablishment of a lost connection. So there's already that in this movie. And at the time, because of this crashed boat, Turks got out into Japan and they started talking and the Japanese liked them. So they said, okay, well, despite this Edo period thing we've been doing, we really want to continue westernizing and all that, but maybe we need to talk more with you. And they're like, oh, our roots are similar. So the Japanese spent a lot of money and a lot of time, so did the Turks, in 1905 or so, creating Japanese Turkic propaganda. And so they spent a lot of time trying to show like the connections that existed. And
right. Meanwhile, while Ataturk and the Black Dragon Society were propagating this pan-Japanese Turco nationalism,
right there it is.
They were suppressing Korean nationalism and their thoughts and their on burning all the books on Hwanguk and Tartaria. But yeah.
Well, it's important. Okay, and also just because you might be like, why does that matter? It does, because Japan's an island, so whatever's there is something that went there. Versus Korea, which is South Russia. You know what I mean? So it's like a Euro state that's been turned into what it is now, divided and conquered, essentially, right?
Right. So this video that I linked in private chat is an actual Korean university professor.
That guy's handsome and he's wearing a bolo tie. Keep going.
Yeah. And he pretty much does like all sorts of like university talks in Korea and America about how he has concrete evidence on the Korean relation with Mesoamericans, going as far as to breaking down Mesoamerican etymology and how it phonetically is in accordance to Korean. And this is how I became vindicated with such information. It's like, we could draw hypotheses all we want, but then like the evidence that he purports, I cannot deny. The fact that it goes down to the Mesoamerican language relations with old Joseon. Like it just
like what does that mean? Like what is old Joseon? What is this deal with ancient Korea being like the moon people? Why is ancient Korea that important? Why is it like Solomon and Epic of Gilgamesh is about Korea? What's the deal?
Well, all that stuff, the moon relation, comes from Islam because the crescent moon symbolism and all that, the lunar calendar stuff and whatnot. But in terms of in relation to Gilgamesh and all that, not too sure. I mean, like a lot of these things I've jumped.
Look at the moon. Look at the freaking jelly bean, like the royal regalia. It's all there, dude.
Cashew.
Yeah.
Yeah, not only the yin yang symbol stuff, it's fucking everywhere, bro. And like not only that, if you want to compare like depictions of dragons, right? Serpents in the Middle East as depicted in the Bible, as depicted in the Quran, and then you want to compare that to the East Asian dragon depictions in East Asia, they're the exact same.
Dude, what's gonna happen is Mark's gonna try to get a job for like Blaze or some conservative media, and they're gonna be like, "You were cool, but the government found this video in North Korea of you talking about the ancient Koreas." So,
but yeah, if you
what also, the fuck are you talking about, dude?
But this video in particular, it's all in Korean, so it's hard for people to follow. But the auto translate subtitles are actually pretty accurate. But if you want to skip to the 55-minute mark, that's where he goes down into like the whole etymology stuff.
I gotta get to English. Let's see. English. Okay, go to where? Where do I go?
The 55-minute mark. And then further later into that, like the hour 30 is when he goes into like artifacts and whatnot. But yeah, it's like honestly, what you should start doing is after each stream, we should start posting all these links and sources in the description.
Yeah, good call. Obviously, I'll put this in the private chat in the meantime, guys, so you can keep a copy of this.
Like information like this is only available in like Korean or like other Asian sources in China.
Korea is the epicenter of cloning, of future tech. There's an abandoned Stargate casino underground bar in Seoul. I mean, there's something weird going on in Korea.
Right, there's so much weird shit in Korea, but like the Western Tartaria community would make strides if only they spoke a second language, and like if they could reference these two communities together and bridge it, they'd make so much more like progress. Because I'm just like some mid-level IQ kid with an internet connection, just doing this shit on my own time as a hobby, right? Let's say if like an actual professor got hopped onto this, or like an Anatoly Fomenko type, they would have made much more like discoveries like light years ahead of me, but no one's really like aware of this due to all this like language barrier stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, and just how much of it's been erased, but that you can still find records of it. Yeah, I mean, and just all the pieces that are the same. So this is a bull roarer, right? This is exactly the same thing that Aborigines use. Like they make winds.
It's in Australia, it's in Korea, it's in South America. Yeah, dude, this doesn't end, which is why I'm vindicated on my position.
Dude, the North Koreans are going to love us. They're like, yes, thank you. Thank you for saying what we've been saying for years.
I doubt that, man.
But yeah, like, so another link that I posted in private chat was the depiction of Moses in the Quran.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Musa ibn Imran, Moses in Islam, right? And
specifically the image of where
look at
the serpents, right? Of the the serpents eating whatever the fuck. But if you zoom out.
Sorry, I didn't mean to show Muhammad. That was my bad. Hold on.
What? I gotta leave, dude.
You guys wearing a veil. He's wearing a veil. It's all right.
Keep scrolling down. You'll eventually come across that dragon image.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I'll just skip ahead to it. This guy.
There it is. Yeah. You see that? That's supposed to be a serpent. That looks like an Asian dragon, bro.
Yeah. Giant serpent with arms and legs. You know, pre-biblical.
Just for comparison, on a side tab, just Google Korean dragon, and just look at the parallels.
Is it gonna be a death cult or it's actual?
No. It just looks exactly like the image in the Quran.
Yeah, these long dragons.
Yeah, these
for
long
sure.
fucking serpents, bro.
Yeah, I see it. So I mean, but then you feel like there's precedent then for the erasure of Korea, because you've got the Japanese conquering Korea, you've got the Chinese conquering Korea, you have the Russians conquering Korea, you have South Korea as an American state. Do you feel like this is all a plan?
I mean, yeah, we know from all sorts of like yeah. I mean, it's pretty obvious by now that there is some sort of population control agenda that specifically targets the Tartar people, right? And specifically, the Masonic magazine of 1865 states this. We mentioned this in the previous episodes as well. That one line that says the Masonic agenda is the political overthrow of Tartars. And then we see this with like everywhere the Masons went. We see genocide happening, whether it's the Armenians, whether it's the Koreans or whatever. Some sort of population control movement. Most notably the Taiping Rebellion, which killed off like how many millions of Chinese people under a false pretense that Hong Xiuquan was the son of Christ, or like a brother of Christ.
The heavenly kingdom of the Taiping, a massive revolt in the Qing dynasty led by many believed to be the brother of Jesus Christ. Are you kidding me? All right.
Yeah, dude, like this is what I'm talking about, bro. And like if you look deeper, like I mentioned, like, we never really fully addressed this, but that Masonic magazine of 1865 clearly states that either it was the Masons or brother associations in China that have usurped Hong Xiuquan to
I got a question. It says a celestial elder brother. What is a celestial brother?
So like if he's not born, then his spirit was, his brother, the spirit brother.
So it's a way of claiming he's a brother without actually being.
Yeah, he's not Mary's son, but he's a brother from another mother.
So it's bullshit. This is bullshit, basically.
Yeah, it's bullshit. But the Freemasons psyoped them essentially into starting this war to weaken China, so the Qing dynasty would collapse, so the British can come in and the Americans as well. And this was and after the Qing dynasty collapsed, Korea and Japan closed off its borders because they were afraid of foreign involvement, because they were wary that the same thing might happen to them. But next thing you know, foreshadowing, the same thing did happen. You had the samurai class, the daimyo, completely killed off by the Americans, and then you also had the General Sherman incident in Korea that which was a union-based American Union.
General Sherman incident, it's called.
They staged a false flag incident
Taodong River
to completely decimate America and disarm Korea's military, so they can come
and their industries. They destroyed to
take their currency reserves.
Yeah, so they screwed that up pretty bad. But wait, just because just the nuance of the supreme god worshipping cult, the Chinese. Because of the communists, we don't really think about what the Chinese believed, and we just watch these movies about like the Shaolin Temple and like, whoa, like that's not really China. So the Shangdi believed that there was a highest deity, supreme deity, which they equated with God, and the Jesuits and found the Shangdi to be the easiest to get along with, essentially.
Oh, look, just Google the Jade Emperor, and that's essentially the Chinese take on the Trinitarian God, but a lot of their lore is skewed and fucked up because of the British involvement. But Koreans have a syncretic of this. It's called Hanulim. I will link that as well.
The bell. Wow.
In this Wikipedia page. Yeah, Hanulim. This is our native Trinitarian God, which has Abrahamic syncretics.
Wow.
Like, if you scroll down further,
not Joe Biden. Calm down. Joe Biden does not have a beef beard like that.
Look at his new chin. He's got a new chin. It's crazy.
Okay.
But like if you scroll down further, you'll come across the 12 tribes lore.
Abraham Simpson's friend. Yeah, I get that. Wait. Tribe lore? Was it?
No, so back out the image.
Okay.
And then scroll down
to lore.
No. Just scroll down, and then you see the 12 federations.
12 federations.
That's 12 Shiism, my guy. That's 12 tribes. Yeah.
Wow. But why is it 11? Because there's a lost one. Interesting. That's kind of good.
Right.
That's pretty good. Wow. All right. So you got also this kind of looks like Jerusalem.
There's so much in Korea, man. No wonder it was bombed to fucking hell in 1953.
Wow,
bro.
that chin does look weird. Oh man, I hadn't seen that yet. Oh.
Did they clone a new Biden?
Oh, it looks like he's,
dude.
Oh,
he's got. Fuck?
Oh, what did they put in his chin? Oh, he's got injections in there. Sorry. All right. I don't like looking at him.
Is it just me? His chin did not look like that before. That's new.
That reminds me of when like Bill and Ted have to kiss grandma in hell. You know, that's what I feel like every time I see Joe Biden. Anyway, I don't want to say his name. But you pulled this article up. This is the Freemason Museum
magazine.
periodicals.
Yeah. So if you just click on the original PDF, right, you'll eventually scroll down to, I believe, like page 3, where it specifically states,
right here somewhere.
Right there. Hong Xiu Swan, which is the different romanization of Hong Xiu Quan. You know, there is little reason to doubt that Hong Xiu Swan, the rebel leader that was the true originator of the movement, while there's no evidence to show there was ever a member of a triad, the Chinese Masonry, other secret association, or other secret. It is not surprising, however, that the government should not put the Masonic element in the strongest light and make rebellion an excuse for prosecuting the utmost whatever measure. And then, like, if you go back to page 2, there's just more into this, how the Chinese Masonry and involved, whatever. But specifically on page 3. If you go back to page 3, right under that first paragraph, under whatever name known, the object of the society have been the same. Politically, the overthrow of the Tartars, and the general formation of the mutually protective associations. And it goes down to further saying that, like, that in cases of well-proved treachery to the order, sentence the guilty to death. They're willing to kill their own members to keep this a fucking secret.
And they call it the order with a capital O, like, just to make it clear, it's like the noun. Yeah.
Right.
That's brutal, man. So yeah, it's interesting because, you know, a lot of times we're like, what happened to the Tartars? What happened to Tartaria and stuff? And it's like, it's pretty brutal. If you look at the books, it's like, well, they decided to kill them all. And most of what we understand about racism and manifest destiny come from this mission to get rid of the Tartars, right? That's what it was starting to look like.
Right. Dude, General Sherman, dude. Have you read into that guy? Fucking, that dude was evil as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, so he was in the Civil War and destroyed all of, right? Is the same Sherman?
Oh, no. Well, this is the General Sherman incident. But like the General Sherman in the Civil War, William Succumbus Sherman.
Yeah, dude just is known for destroying all of the Tartarian cities in the South, right? Like, he went through and just destroyed
in the South. He killed off the bison. He led the scalping movement. Yeah, bunch of shit, bro. And like, which is ironic because he's Native American himself. His middle name's Tecumseh. Which I find very ironic because, like, you know, with the Prince, like, you see, like, the minority groups that have been incorporated into Masonic lodges being the most destructive people to their own people. Like, same thing with the Prince Hall Masons. All the black figures that have been killed in recent history, like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, whatever, have been at the direct hand of Prince Hall Masons. And we know this because there was an actual Netflix documentary that came out recently that proved that Prince Hall Masons killed Malcolm X.
Really?
Yeah.
What documentary was this?
Who killed Malcolm X? Yeah.
Oh, interesting. That's interesting.
And not only that, Nation of Islam is also another Masonic fraternity. So, like, yeah, so you have the Prince Hall Masons and the Nation of Islam Masons in a complete rivalry with each other.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, the Nation of Islam is all about, like, Scientology, right? Like, they do Dianetics and everything. So they're their own kind of modern.
It's more so like in tune with Mormonism, if anything.
All right. I like it. Yeah. Can see that.
Yeah, they seem to seem more syncretic of Mormonism to me than they do Scientology, because they're not a numbers people. They're more so like this Jacobian whatever beliefs.
Yeah, like classic, the old school.
Yeah, hot tub stuff.
Brutal. Well, I mean, you know, I hope I didn't scare Seth away.
Right.
But like, are there more thoughts on Arabic Korea, or? Yeah.
I mean,
you have more pages to pull up, or also if anybody wants to if you guys have thoughts, you know.
Yeah. Like I said, it's like, for me, like, due to heavy metal exposure in the military, like, my short-term memory, long-term memory is fucked. It's only until somebody references something that I was like, oh shit, yeah, I remember that. And then, like, I come off on a whole ass tangent. That's how my brain works currently. So I can't just go off in like an hour-long, you know, lecture about like how like this all came to be. It's more so like I bounce off of or piggyback of other people's ideas, adding another layer of details and whatnot.
Have you looked into like Korean mythology much, into like the Korean goddess thing, right? Because like they associate the moon with the goddess, also with the
Right.
feminine energy,
I
like
didn't really
Sophia.
pay attention much into Korean shamanism because I'm more so convinced that this Korean shamanism stuff is like it's like reset narratives, right? Because this stuff didn't really the Confucians really had their hand in shaping or resetting Korean culture away from their Arabic roots, right?
Mm.
Specifically due to the formation of the Qing dynasty, right? Originally, China was under the Ming dynasty, and Korea paid homage to them. But then the Jurchens, the Mongols, whoever these people were, retook China.
Dude, DeSantis shoes. Whoa. Those are brutal. Dang. Sorry.
You're doing that just to be tall, just to look taller? I mean, is that what that's about?
Bro, you know what? It's good for your calves. You want to have like calves like this. Like you really need to. You gotta like really work it. You gotta work
Sexy,
it. You know
Andreas.
I mean? Yeah.
Show me more. Show me more, baby.
That's what you get.
Right, but like but
I think the goddess thing is important though, because like if you look at Koreans and like the native culture holds on to the moon being like the creator of their people and the goddess, and so if you look at Islam has this feminine archetype that is kind of pushed away in modern Islam after like the 9th century and Ali's period. But before that, they're kind of similar to Catholics. They have like a feminine divine mother, and the Sufis continue it, right? The Sufis continue Sophia, philosophia, like the love of wisdom. And wisdom is in their, Abrahamic faith, because Proverbs and all these books are saying it's actually God's wisdom, which has existed since God's period and is actually a woman, I don't know why I said period. Point is, you've got this idea of the feminine that the Turks and the Arabs bring, and it ends up maybe embedded. I think it might be embedded in culture, the idea of wisdom as their goddess. That might have made it.
I completely get that. Like, I definitely have to look more into Korean shamanism, but it's just like personal prejudices have kind of shied me away from exploring that subject further, because like I'm under the impression the Confucianists
absolutely
reset Korean culture. Because we attribute all our customs to Confucianism, but in reality, the aristocratic culture of bowing to your elders and doing all this shit comes from Sharia law, dude. Like, we overcook our meat. The Korean barbecue is, well done because of Sharia law. The whole, but previous to modern Sharia law, where it's like where the practice was just cutting off the head or whatever, with some prayer. Old Sharia law was that like you have to drain the blood, like the kosher practices. Right? And we
you think
still
about the Korean
do that.
barbecue,
Right. We still do that. It's like, dude, what the fuck?
That's pretty weird. Yeah, why would anyone be kosher if they didn't have to be?
Right. It's like Koreans of all people. We're supposed to be pagan and shamanic. Like, how the fuck do we have, Sharia law in our culture, right?
Well, there you see this Korean shamans, and they're wearing my cool hat. Like, I actually have one of these.
These are just normal village people. These are just shamans. These are just normal attire.
Just hanging out, having a good time.
What's crazy about it is, notice the white clothing, and like how the women have, especially that young girl has that head covering. That's called the changot, right? The market clothing, right? It's the same concept as the hijab. If you were to go outside and shopping at a market, you have to wear a head covering, specifically for females. But what's very interesting is that if pair those two together, the male wearing white clothes, the female wearing like this niqab hijab clothing, you get people, the Arabs that pilgrimage to Mecca, they dress the exact same way. It's crazy. And then like I was
these are very similar to like Jewish rabbi hats. Also, I've noticed is a thing. Like you could pretty much wear a Korean hat or a Jewish rabbi hat,
which falls down to the Japanese Jewish common ancestry theory, which I was discussing with Seth earlier in the DMs.
Yeah, hopefully he comes back. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, hopefully.
Maybe his internet broke.
He said he had to do something.
Oh, that's right.
Other Seth. I mean, sorry, not VV.
Oh, Seth Garrett. Yeah.
Seth Garrett. Yeah. But yeah. Let me show you the examples of changot and compare that to pilgrimage clothing. So yeah, here's one link. Or actually, no, hold on.
I don't know exactly how I'm going to tie ALF into all this, I'll admit. But
I used to get high as hell and watch ALF all the time. That was my favorite thing to do.
Bro, that was 1986 to 1990. Like, how old were you? That doesn't make sense.
Well, reruns.
Okay. That's fine.
And I am old, Andreas.
But yeah, I'm gonna DM this on the images.
Keep telling yourself that, young man. All right. You sent it in a private chat, or you sent it in
I'm gonna send it to you on Facebook because this is an image, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. 1 second.
I know I'm pretty, but I'm still old.
You're doing all right. We have to get your star chart. As soon as we know your star chart, that'll be... Tell everyone what time and place you were born so that they can get all the wicked girls to do your star chart real quick. We'll have
that's definitely not something I'm going to put out publicly.
Yeah, I know, right? That's the thing. Everyone asks, "What's your birthday?" I'm like, I know what you're.
I'll tell you privately. I'm not going to tell. I'm not going to say it on here.
Julia. Okay. Look at this guy and his wife right now. Her Ewok outfit. This is like Mr. Potato Head. This is brutal.
Right, and then you just Google images of Islamic couples, and they're dressed the exact same way, bro. It's insane. Like, the female wearing some kind of like a dark, like hijab, niqab, and the male wearing like a white fucking Hajj clothes, bro.
I blame Saudi Arabia for what they did to fashion, but like if you look at like the Koreans know how to take it to a new place. I mean, this is layering, right? This is look at the way that fabric just. If she were to skip right now, think what it would look like. It would be so cool.
And not only that, for the longest time, it was up until I believe the 40s. Koreans didn't cut their hair. It was like a religion. It was like a taboo.
Like the Tartars, like the Cossacks.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
They didn't cut their hair.
Wow.
That hat seems a little high on the head. I mean, isn't the purpose of a hat to like block the sun, keep you from getting sunburned?
This does two things. So one, it blocks the sun. There's also a net kind of thing that's catching the hair, so it's holding the hair up, and it's because the heat rises and there's like it's a very thin material. The heat goes through the hat, so it's blocking out the sun, cooling the hat, allowing breathing to the top of the head. It's a very practical hat to wear all the time. I think is the thing, and they have it tied with a string so it doesn't slip. It looks I think it looks pretty cool, actually. I like it. I like that look.
Nah, I think it looks stupid.
Yeah. Well, not as stupid as the lady. I mean, that lady looks ridiculous.
Yeah, it looks stupid, too.
God, what a crazy thing to do. I mean, not as cool as this lady, though, right? Like, this is... Wait, no. That's the wrong page. Not as cool as the Korean lady we looked at earlier today. Yeah, she looks great. I like her.
Yeah, she's cute. Gunwoo, is Gunwoo Japanese?
I'm Korean.
You
Korean, okay.
No, sorry.
I mean, us white people. We're
all white people look alike.
No. But like, to be fair, if you're arguing on the Tartar narrative, right? Koreans, Japanese, Chinese, they're all the same. Legit, they're all the same.
But I'm looking at you now. I should have known you're Korean. But my question is, since you're Asian, do you find Asian women as hot as white people do, or are you just like, it's just another chick? Because I'm Asian. They're so hot, dude.
Yeah, they are. But like, dude, Happas, like half white, half Asian, are my weakness. Are my fucking weakness.
The hottest chick I ever seen was like half Japanese, or she was Japanese, Somalian, and white, and she had a big ass. She was just hot as.
My God.
And not too big of an ass, like a perfect big ass, not like a black guy's big ass.
But what's crazy is like the Tartar, the Kipchak, whatever, the Eurasian Russian people, they look exactly like that, bro. Like the Kazakhs do, like they're fucking beautiful.
It is really interesting when like the Russians get Asian and the Asians get European, because like there is a point where it gets really confusing. I remember seeing pictures of like North Korean boys with blonde hair and blue eyes, but they look like Gunwoo, and. So, I mean, it exists.
I had a Mexican friend who had red hair and freckles, but he was Mexican. So, like, it's weird sometimes.
That makes enough sense.
No, but he wasn't white. He was, like, dark-skinned. Looked like a Mexican other than red hair and freckles.
That's interesting also. So, the Japanese have a lot of racism against redheads. So, for instance,
fuck them.
They're
jealous.
It's less and less of a problem now. But what it is that if you have perfect black hair and your kid with a blonde person, a lot of the time they have red hair. And so there were, like, in the 12th century, the 15th century, the 16th, particularly the 15th to 16th century, redhead demons, redhead witches, and in the 20th century during World War II, they took redheads and they would like tie them to each other and they would bet each other how many redheads they could shoot through.
Which is very ironic because like like East Asians, like Koreans, Japanese, they have a reddish luster to their hair because of the Scythian origin, right? Like if my hair appears black, put it under the sun, it appears red. Not only that, I had this one time, sophomore year of high school, I had a blonde strain that grew. My mom is like, show this to my family. And it's like, and my mom just excused it off saying, oh, it's just sun bleached, right? I never go outside. The fuck you talking about, sun bleached?
Slash, your mom probably had some blonde hairs and she had to deal with it some way too. You know?
I don't know, but like, I looked into this, but yeah, this is a common phenomenon with East Asians of growing
the other
like
one,
random.
The other one that you had that was interesting. Oh, go ahead, sorry, Ping.
Well, I have like 3 different hair colors too. It's kind of weird. It's like it's more blonde at the root, and then a little bit black, and then a little red. It's kind of that's crazy.
Yeah, we're brothers, man.
people. Yeah. I've had friends that accuse me of dyeing my hair, and it's like, no, it's just naturally.
No, you're just part Korean. Like no one.
Yeah, yeah. And if us redheads have gone through that kind of stuff, why aren't we allowed to say the N-word?
Right? You have all these fucking like hot tips and Afrocentrists saying
we were
that,
considered demons, dude. I mean, come on.
Sometimes like very slow.
Just kidding. I don't want to say the N-word.
Just
a little bit. Just a little bit.
I know, but we should at least have the past, right? If these Afrocentrists are saying that, like, we were Asians or we were, white people at one point.
I mean, you got all right. There's our tie into ALF, right? Because ALF is the Hebrew letter Aleph, and here's the symbol for the Hebrew letter Aleph. All right, so it all worked out. All right, it all worked out. You can just say that ALF is your pass. But white clothing, how about that? It was not white people.
The white clothing
on not white people. So you've got Christians do this, Mormons do this, Persians do this, Sufis do this.
Koreans do it.
Who does it? Koreans do it. That's crazy. The Minbok.
This doesn't appear in Japan.
This is weird to do, right? Because to bleach your clothes is like, that's a chemical process that's unusual. Like, it's one thing to get crushed up stuff and dye it something. It's another thing to learn how to create hydrogen peroxide. I think.
Right. Like David Ewing says, this stuff was given, like these clothes were given by the Japanese or whatever. But no, this was like this has a history and a timeline stretching all the way back to the Middle East. So I don't understand where he's getting that from.
Berbers do it. The Badis do it. Even educated fleas do it. Let's do it. Let's fall in love. Sorry.
But like,
thanks. Mark got it. Mark's educated.
Right. And like, one of the sober quints of Korea that a lot of Westerners have applied to Korea was called the white clad people, or Pege Minjok is what we call it in Korean. And underneath that, white clothing in Korea linked in private chat is also the Korean link to this that actually goes into more detail of the stuff. But if you want to open this up on Google Translate or Google Chrome and translate,
as for save versions, what's happening here? What's happening? It's translate to English. Okay. It says this page isn't to be found. Bro.
Oh, hold on. It's you're missing. You can't click on the link
because it's in Korean and StreamYard's racist.
You have to.
StreamYard, you better stop being super racist, or else we're gonna not be friends anymore.
No, copy the entire link.
Yeah. No.
You're missing the /W.
I know. No, I have double slash. Okay. We did.
There we go. Finally, and then wonderful. Translate the page, and you'll.
How about that? Is that what ACL is at the top? No, it's not. Okay, so modern, 3 kingdoms. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, so 1920 years, 1920, white, Iran white. It comes from wearing clothes often Korean of alias complete, as you might have said.
The translation is fucked.
Dude, just tell me what it says. You're Korean. Come on, just level with me.
True.
What's it really say?
They use big words.
I mean, ancestors who did not stop wearing them properly. It was an oily clothing taste. Come on, you're gonna have to tell me what this says. I'm just gonna turn it back to Korean. Read it to me. Read it to me, Dad. What's it say?
Okay, well, fuck, it's a lot to read here, but I mean, well, fuck reading this. There's so much to it, but essentially, really, like the details on like the phenomenon of this, how like the most people, like even the Koreans, don't really know where the origin of this comes from.
of wearing white, but they say it has to do with the three kingdoms.
But it has to do with the three kingdoms. It also has religious connotations, right?
Well, three kingdoms right there, because you got the three celestial, terrestrial, terrestrial kingdoms.
Well, the three kingdoms lore isn't necessarily mentioning that. It's the original three kingdoms from Korea, the Samguk Yusa, right? Yeah. The Goguryeo, the Shilla, Baekje kingdoms, whatever, and the Gaia. Yeah, we had a kingdom. We literally had a kingdom called Gaia in Korea, which is the craziest thing to me.
It's kind of based.
But yeah, but like the reason why I pointed this Namu Wiki link out specifically, because it goes into how over the years there has been persecution movements to where or movements where people that wore white clothing were persecuted. They were trying to get rid of the white clothing to assimilate more into Western type clothing, or like the hanbok, the colorful hanbok that you see. But people refused and were adamant into keeping this white clothing for some reason. And it's like, why? It's like, we're supposed to be Buddhist Confucianist shamans, right? Why do we have any Abrahamic connotations at all?
Is there a reason they say that the white was holy, or just because it's cultural at a certain point? Like they completely lost the reason.
Yeah, like I said, with the collapse of the Qing dynasty influences and its collapse, Western involvement, the Confucianists.
They don't even remember
Korea,
why.
Yeah, it's been reset. Yes, they've completely lost their Sogdian roots and Tocharian roots, and they've completely lost it. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Somebody asked in the chat, "What's up with ads on live streams? What, you don't want your favorite creators to get paid?"
Yeah, like here's how I'm glad you brought that up. So here's how this works. We try to say as much as possible before they demonetize us, and you get to watch that and live, and then after that, it's in members only until they remonetize us, if they ever do.
Dude, that'd be nice if they fixed that. I have the same problem. Like 75%, if not more, of every stream I do, as soon as it's done, it's demonetized.
Yeah, but having said that, a lot of them are getting better. I think the last one yesterday went through the problem, but the last few weeks have been okay. For the most part, talking about this stuff isn't a huge deal. These are a few things we might have said, but it is what it is. So the fact that they're monetizing us, that's great. Honestly, that's all I got.
Yeah, but it kills the reach of the video. Like once you're done and then you put it members only and then put it public again, you're killing the views on the video.
Oh yeah,
dude.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Turning myself more esoteric for sure.
You might as well just leave it up and leave it limited. Ask for reviews. You'll get more views than membering it. For me, that's my experience.
Well, they told me that they'll limit the rest of your channel if you do that also. So I talked to some person at YouTube, and they're like, yeah, they don't want you to do that. Like you should just, if they don't want the video out, just like unlist it. Honestly, you should unlist it instead of members even. And I was like, oh, really? Yeah.
That's so stupid how they do that, dude. And they're losing money, man. They're like,
they don't care about money.
So they're trying to get rid of the ad block. No, that's why they're going so hard against the ad blockers now.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's because like the ads are so useful for mind control is the only thing. I don't really think it's about the money because they make enough money. Like Google has so much other stuff going on. Maybe it matters to them to become like a self-sustaining business, but really the value of having a monopoly is what YouTube was built around in the first place. Like in Netflix and everything else, they're like, we just put as much money into this as possible so that we monopolize the content. And in a few years, no one else will make any, right?
I've seen a trend, dude, because most of my popular stuff is always like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, maybe 4 at most, right? That stuff, even with better statistics, will not get pushed out as much as one of my longer videos with worse analytics. So it's like they're really concerned about having long form content that they can put as many ads on. And even if your stuff is not that good, it'll get pushed over something that's shorter, that's better because it makes less money. Trust me, they seem to care about the money now.
Yeah, it might be true. I think they care about retention. Like I really do think they're more obsessed with like retention. They're like, can we get someone to be obsessed? And we don't really care about like there's certain kinds of people that TikTok. And so YouTube's got shorts, and they're trying to experiment with understanding how to control like
the Silicon Valley model was all about growth. From the past 10 years, always about growth. But then we're starting to realize like growth stagnates, and it's not possible. Like we need long-term solutions here, so they're switching towards retention.
Like I know that
retention
having
means more ads as well. Like,
well, no, because
the
like
people watch, the more
really,
ads are going to see.
No, because like getting people on YouTube Red. So like I got YouTube Red, not paid for myself, but someone got it for me. Thank you, Brittany. And it changed my life because I don't see ads, and I usually just would block them anyway. But now, even when I'm logged in on TV and stuff, and it really matters for my dad and my mom because they stop buying stuff in commercials and believing, because like what they'll do is they'll target. They'll be like, this person's 65 to this year's age, and they live in these places, and we're gonna put this content right before content they like to watch, and so it becomes really manipulative. And I think that's. I mean, my mom saw so many Californian politician ads before her, YouTube videos before this. So I think it matters a lot to them.
Especially for the older generation. They seem more susceptible.
Yeah. And like, so YouTube's also working on the television model, which is like, it's free content. It's different than like Netflix or Peacock, which is like, we're going to have a subscription model so that you can buy into this. It's more like the Disney Channel where they're like, this is a commercial for what we're doing. And what they're doing is they're controlling society. It's not just a commercial for YouTube. It's not just a commercial for Google, not just for Alphabet. It's for the whole friggin' Illuminati, is what YouTube does. It just shows you, this is the world we want to present. This is what we want you to be like. They trend with certain people to live in a van so that, you know what I mean? Like they're romanticizing and neurolinguistically programming people and radicalizing young Islamic kids in, Minneapolis, like whatever they need to do, they're doing it all at once.
Yeah. It's a powerful tool, man.
Pretty evil. You got another thing to pull up, Gumwoo, or American Time Machine? You have thoughts about faith and spirit and romance? No, he's a stoic.
Is he frozen?
I don't know.
Live? Can you hear us, American Time Machine?
Sorry, repeat that for me. Sorry.
I feel like I'm leading a class. You in the back. Whoa. No, I was just talking about like, if you have any thoughts on reality philosophy. You've been thinking all week too,
Yeah, I'm I now have a couple days off. So that'll be nice. But I watched
Wake up, dude. Just kidding, guys.
He works really hard taking care of tours in a crystal cave, and he recently just brought a bunch of rabbis through the crystal cave. So I think he's more spiritual than the rest of us. So good job.
Yeah, we definitely dumbed down the millions of years with the limestone formation and stuff. So
you're like, this was built Thursday, 6000 BC.
Yeah. They say these stalactites are thousands of years old. But yeah. It's real cool. But anyway, I've been thinking what's crazy is like in my own time, like I do a bit of writing, and I'm trying to get more of that out, I guess, but I don't know, I might self-publish someday or something. I don't know, it's just kind of there for the time being. But now a couple of things that I've written and commented on culture-wise, they seem to be lining up with a new guy I discovered. He's like Korean born, but he's German. His name is, hold on, I gotta say it right. Byung-Chul Han. Yeah. Watched, I ordered one of his books, but I did a whole, I listened to a couple of different podcasts on him, but apparently his, one of his books is really incredibly interesting. So he's, we've already kind of coined the term hustle culture. That's pretty well known, but he goes a step further. He calls it achievement culture. And the book, apparently the book really goes into depth about what he calls achievement culture and just how it's just a huge just plan of personal failure in the grand scheme of things. It's
Koreans get it.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I didn't realize he was that old. Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, wow. That freaked me out. 64. He looks like he's like 30.
Right, dude. Ages don't fucking age, bro. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like I'm a military veteran. I'm about to turn 26.
I know, and he looks 11.
In high school, right? Like, I still get carded in bars and shit. It's like, bro, I serve this country. Like, are you talking?
That's a blessing, man.
That's pretty wild, dude.
Somebody mentioned Lex Fridman. Is everybody else having the same experience where everything you watch leads to Lex Fridman? Like if you're like falling asleep, it's like the up next is always Lex Friedman, no matter what you watch.
Lex
Not
Friedman
anymore.
replaced Joe Rogan, bro. Ever since Joe Rogan went
there used to be
COVID path,
yeah.
Lex Friedman replaced Joe Rogan.
I don't get the Lex stuff anymore. I think it's because I went too deep. I think I went so deep now that they don't even like after I watched a few Lex Friedmans, I was like, okay, now I'm gonna watch everything from the person he's interviewing that he wants to blow. And like so I would study that person or the girl that was his professor that talks about like the main reason I got into Lex Friedman also was like a few years before it was like, you know, Joe Rogan. It was he did an interview with someone I talked to about neuroscience and this idea of AI having emotion. And he's like, isn't it important for AI to have emotion? He was able to pose a question. I was very jealous because he was able to ask a question to this lady who I'd wanted to interview, who I couldn't, but he could because she was a professor at the school he is at, right? So I was like, okay, this is a great interview. But then from there, you just like follow the person he interviews. And at this point, it doesn't bring me to Lex anymore. It just brings me to like all of these, you know, I get like, it'll randomly start playing a 3-hour Yale lecture on my channel. And the other thing is you can block things like, so if I ever get like a commercial now, which I don't, but if I ever did, I always blocked the channel. You know, I blocked the Twitter, I blocked the Facebook, I block it, and I can never get an ad for McDonald's again. I can.
I'm not trying to hate on Lex, but I'm just saying it's.
I'm not hating on
Lex.
Thing. I mean, I'm not. He's a little pedestrian, but he's that's probably.
He's been nice to me, so I'm not. I mean, he seems like a genuine nice guy.
One thing I want to say,
it is a little suspicious. Sorry, go ahead.
I started mean to interrupt or anything, but one thing I wanted to say is that like the algorithms are.
Did you beat up that guy? Did you get your wallet back? All right.
The algorithm is completely different for people with and without YouTube Red or Premium that I've noticed. Like ever since the obsession of YouTube Red or the idea of paid YouTube, I like and experimenting with free trials or whatnot, I get two different results in terms of algorithm and like I get better results with YouTube Premium, which allows me to avoid promotional content. Whereas if you have normal YouTube, you get all sorts of promotional sponsored content. People like Lex Friedman that pay to have their that pay their agencies to promote their shit everywhere, which is how they boost analytics.
Yeah, I got Premium. I still get them all the time.
The other thing is I got a VPN because I went to Mexico and I watched Netflix in Mexico. I was like, this is like Mexican Coca-Cola. It's just better because they have thousands more movies and series, and they have like a section for Korea, a section for Japan, a section for Scandinavia, for Denmark, and for Iceland, and for Sweden and Norway. They have movies from every culture there, right? So all you got to do is you log into your internet at home, pretending you're in Mexico, and then all of a sudden your Netflix. Here's Fight Club in English and Spanish and German. Here's every movie you'd ever want to watch because they licensed it there. There are movies and documentaries about bands that are in English that they couldn't get the rights to the songs in the United States. So they're released in Germany, Italy, China, Japan, Mexico. But the movies couldn't get released to the place it was made. So it's like.
But in every other way, we're still the greatest country of all time.
Yeah, all right.
And the food, except for the food, and Big Pharma, and the wars. You know, otherwise,
here,
the best.
But yeah. So
the best.
Same thing goes with YouTube. Like if YouTube's like, you can't watch this video in the United States. So, like you log in from Puerto Rico or from like Algeria or Morocco or something like that, and all of a sudden you've got all of these videos which are banned only in the United States. Sometimes people will delete their videos if they're only available in other countries. A lot of times they won't. So it's crazy, like the content changing, and then the algorithm changes too, because then the commercials are different. They're like, wait, you're in Mexico, but you're not from Mexico. So what kind of commercial should we show you? So it's all of it's just don't be where you're supposed to be. Probably. What about you, Seth? What have you been doing this week?
I took a break from social media and listening to any podcast or anything like that, and I was just listening to audiobooks of smart people.
Sweet. What kind of books were you listening to? What did you listen to this week?
Mostly was going back through Manly P. Hall's The Secrets and Mysteries, or whatever the hell it's called. It's like 28 hours long.
The teachings of all ages.
Yeah, I have the book.
Yeah.
It's so good, and it's like just to declutter and cut through all the noise. Like I'd been listening to really bad type of stuff, like Tim Pool, like just addicted. Like I don't even like it, but I'm just addicted to put it on a certain time of day. And I'm like, here's my stupid friends I don't like, and
he gets you with the titles, dude. The titles always pull you. The titles of the shit always pull you in.
I live alone, so it's like, here's the time where I'm listening to this group of people, and I was like, no, I can't. I have to like listen to Socrates and Aristotle.
Yeah,
and it's so much more calming and like easier to digest. And
no offense to like other people, but like we should be making shows, not listening to other shows.
Right. And I'm not really interested in like events, like past events or current events, or even like I'm interested in like trends and philosophy and stuff like that. Just philosophy mostly.
Does your NDA ever expire, Andreas?
I think Sea Org has me for 6 billion years cleaning toilets, so I don't know. But with philosophy and with, you know, for instance, like this week looking at I was looking at this book Galileo's Error. You can find so many examples, and this has come up earlier today. I was talking about this with Team Rabbit Hole. There's so many people today who look at a book through. Americans will say, "I liked this movie." You know, it's a weird concept because if you took a Korean kid and you asked him like 100 years ago, what do you think of this book? It would be really weird. The kid would be shocked and confused because usually the way you're supposed to go is this is a very important book. Try to understand it. And Americans don't think that way. Americans are all about what my opinion is as a critic. And it's really awful backwards from, you know, you're supposed to try to study something.
The subjectivism in terms of interpreting anything, like philosophy, art, whatever. I believe
like your opinion's more important than the book itself.
Right. I believe that stuff comes from the Frankfurt
really
School.
Aren't important. Opinions are a waste of time, a waste of mental energy, and I mean they don't do anything. I mean, it's speculation isn't really that useful, you know.
I love it when
read critics and not see the book or movie because they're like, oh, I read the critique on it, so I'm good.
Well, that's just like your opinion, dude.
I love it when people lead a conversation starting with how I feel is that like, or how I feel like, or whatever. Right,
like, and they train to do that because
right. Yeah, and like this all like from what I'm finding comes from the Frankfurt School. This is how communism, socialism made its way injecting into our culture through this double think subjectivism that George Orwell clearly states.
It also forces all of us to keep up with to keep up with media and influencers, to keep up with the Joneses. You have to become an incredible liar when you're offering opinions on things that you know in your subconscious you don't even understand. You're a liar essentially. It's like people are encouraging me to have an opinion on like, you know, Russia versus Ukraine. So I'm like reading up on Wikipedia, see if I know the history or not. I'm like, why would I even offer an opinion on this?
Well, but that's what I love about you because
falsely presenting myself.
But then I no, because you're not, because then you actually read the thing. Because like do you have any idea how many English people don't read books? Most of them, and they act like they do because that's the thing that they're like, oh, you're British,
right?
And I'm British.
But
what
would be productive is if I admit I don't deserve an opinion, and then go further educate myself, and other people see that and they're like, oh, maybe I don't have to have an opinion. Maybe I should actually try to like understand the thing, and maybe I don't ever have to understand it, you know.
I think FOMO, fear of missing out, bro. Everybody has to like appease the status quo in some way and participate.
It's performative. It's become like a mating ritual where men are like cuckoo choo, like on like Twitter, like flashing their knowledge.
We need to break we need to break down the process because it shouldn't be about contemporary events and it shouldn't be about peacocking per se. It should be like the peacock is the modeling of critical thinking. And so the episode is our critical thinking skills demonstrated so other people can have critical thinking skills or model their own critical inside your mind. You should have different kinds of people that are arguing with each other. I mean, that sounds schizophrenic, but really, like, you want to
encourage.
That's the definition of schizophrenia.
Yeah, something to say.
Not at all. No, not at all.
The Panopticon. I don't think we.
You have to have that. You have to have different. You have to have arguments with yourself in your head.
Wait, what about the Panopticon?
So the Panopticon. I don't know if I can even vaguely define the Panopticon. The Panopticon is what a lot of philosophers are talking about now. It's just this big, huge, media centric world where we're all voluntarily surrendering our own privacy for other people to see. A world completely reliant on. Not even reliant on trust. We don't need trust anymore because we're already voluntarily surrendering our information. And that, I think that definitely ties into our discussion. That's what's I think one of the biggest current topics is
Travis is so based. Good job, Travis.
of what we're saying. Okay, what the fuck is going on in the world? And this is one of the big ones is we have this big giant conglomeration of media forces that are trying to influence our behavior, but they've created this feedback system where we influence it and it influences us, and we kind of we are essentially whipping ourselves into being into our own forms of burnout. Like, why am I not trying hard enough? Why am I not chasing after my dreams? There's so many things I could be. Why don't I chase after that? And really, you're just running on this treadmill into whatever fucking direction and trying to improve yourself when you can't actually do it. You can't actually improve yourself. And so this can tie into so many other topics, but one thing I thought about when we were having this discussion is another aspect of that was toxic positivity. Everything in the world, it just has to be fucking positive. You can't have an opinion so long as your opinion doesn't sound like dog shit or throw dog shit over the place. You have to put on a smile and you have to go into your job at McDonald's and make sure nobody gets pissed off. All right, just serve them their fucking 400 calorie cheeseburger and make sure that they're fucking happy.
You're making me hungry, dude.
Yeah. Sorry about that, but that's one thing I felt like. I worked in customer service for like 3 years, and now I still kind of do, but tourism is a little bit different. But
you're giving people dreams. You're making little girls think about quartz crystals and caves. You're saving lives, bro.
Well, I'm telling people, like, this cave is fucking 1 million years old. You're gonna fucking die, and your life doesn't fucking matter. That's essentially
it's the best tour guide ever, dude. I'm telling you.
So you better have a meaningful life in that context, because
the Big Lebowski of the cave tours,
you're gonna die soon. That's the main takeaway from all of geology, I think.
Not Seth. Seth's gonna merge with the machines, man.
He is. He's gonna be part of the singularity. Informed dissent said the mind is a quorum, and that's sexy. That goes on a bumper sticker. Come on, that's a good line right there. I like that.
That's great.
I don't know if you can fit this into the episode, but also like tying into the whole Ainu origin stuff led me into a rabbit hole figuring out in tandem with the Yi people language. The Gothic script, and it's linked to Ge'ez, and then eventually all that's rabbit hole stuff led me into figuring out that the original that the Ashkanazi Jews that we know today are actually Romani Gypsies. They come from Magyars. Finding which makes complete sense because Hungarians have the highest Ashkenazi
outside
Jewish.
Of Israel.
Outside of as the Ashkenazi gene outside of Israel. Right. Yeah. The stuff I mentioned is all within the DMs I sent Seth. I pretty much give like a summary, a TLDR of everything.
No, the other Seth. There's Seth.
Yeah,
Garrett.
the Seth Garrett. Yeah.
Oh man, it's gonna be hard to go through. I'll try. This will be real hard.
But like specifically, the thing that I wanted to mention is that Romans. The word Romans in Italian is Romani.
Right.
And like they
considered the Etruscans considered the Romani to be like gypsies in the sense that they came from. Yeah.
That's where the name Romans come from.
Bless you. So here's your Abraham Isaac thing.
That image is the Gypsy migrations out of India. They enter the Pannonian Basin and form Khazaria, and then eventually, like after they form Khazaria, actually, let me go back. So what I told Seth was that
so many nudies here, right?
When the Romanis eventually, migrated north into the Middle East. They were captured by Carthaginians and Phrygians, and they were specifically annotated being hook-nosed slaves, right? The hook-nose annotation being important because the hook-nose phenotype only appears in Ashkenazi Jews and Northern Indians.
Yeah, Northern India, right? Which in Northern India, it's like a holy thing. If you're born with a hook nose, you get worshipped, and they actually bring money to the temple. If you want to go back to the migration image earlier, the Roma migration image. This one or
no, the second
guy.
one, right? So so they eventually go into the Pannonian Basin and they form Khazaria, right? So the Pannonian Basin was originally Scythia, right? But the Scythia gets usurped, topples or whatever, and becomes the first Jewish empire called Khazaria. And these are where Hungarians come from. And so the Hungarians are Magyars, which were originally Khazarians, but due to a civil dispute within the Khazarian Empire, the seven Magyar tribes swore allegiance to some king or whatever and split off and eventually invaded the rest of Europe. And the Hungarian invasions of Europe are synonymous with Jewish presence in Europe. People will always wonder, like, where did the Jews come from in Europe? How did they get here? Or they came from Germany or whatever. But no, they came from Hungary. And not only that, I remember specifically learning about this in AP era, how the Romans fell. In accordance to mainstream academia, we are taught that the Visigoths toppled Rome, right? These Anglo-Saxon barbarians that came from England. The fact that these people had to traverse all through France just to get to Italy. Meanwhile, the literal Huns are right next to Italy. The Hungarians, the Magyars are,
and the Huns go in and they go into Italy.
They go into Italy, bro. Yeah. And this is where the Visigoths come from. They're not Anglo-Saxons. They're fucking
because no one ever talks about like what happened, like because like the Huns go in, they surround Rome, they take it, and then they talk for 3 days, and then they just leave, and everyone's like, "What?" Like they give them some gold or something. They're like, "Look, if you destroy us, there'll be nothing to rob next year," and so it becomes a tithing, right? And so all of a sudden you've got is it Genghis Khan controlling the Roman Empire, arguably, or at least that he owns it. He's above it.
Right. Because the Khazars are part of the cognate somehow. They're related. But
and I just really quickly also the king of the Gypsies comes up because of that. Because in in Europe they have a saint who's called the king of the Gypsies, and what they were doing was they were putting Gypsies in charge because you had these Christians and different people that were fighting each other. Different kinds of Christians were fighting each other, and Europeans, and so putting somebody who was not of that group as a neutral party became very common. So Gypsies, a major source of racism against Gypsies today comes from the fact that they were police. They were street police, street cops in the medieval world.
The Gestapo, pretty much.
Well, they weren't necessarily evil for it, though. The thing is, like, because they were looking at and the thing is, they believed in karma. So there's a lot of reasons why it probably was a better thing. Like you could trust them because of their superstitions to be more ethical cops.
Also, Gypsies being Jew theory that I'm proposing here is also the biggest reasons why the Star of David is the Shatkona appearing in Hinduism. And Buddhism, right? The 6-pointed star originates originally from India. So how did it reach the Jewish culture?
Interesting.
Because they're Gypsies, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I have a picture here of that, but yeah. But so there's a lot of interesting connections there where cultures merge and shift, but blood is literally like whatever group gets converted, right? So there can be people that are very diverse. They might have similar blood in Hungary but no longer follow the same religion, or you might have people that are following the same religion because they were converted but they don't have the same blood. I mean, this seems like a thing.
And piggybacking on your previous long episodes on the Roman Empire and the rape of Sabine women specifically, we know that Rome wasn't originally Rome. It was usurped by conquering people. Like, who were these conquering people? So and then as we know by the name Roman, that they took after the Romanis. And then, like you said, the king of the Jews, these people were the upper echelon authority, essentially, right?
Look at the conquerors right here. These conquerors.
he's got devil horns coming out of his chin, dude.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I had to make you look at that again.
You don't want to put that. You don't want to inject your chin like that. That's just a bad thing to do. Sorry,
but yeah. So like, and if we know from Fomenko that the original Romans were Phrygian, Etruscans, and Sabaean, and there were also like Arabic. Yeah, there's just so much to this, right? But like just the cognitive dissonance within the West can never fucking accept this.
Yeah, we like to break everything apart, not see how things interfere or influence each other. I think that's the thing that we try to avoid doing, is seeing how things are connected and influenced. Because people were like, and then this is like recently there was a Twitter article that was like celebrating the black musicians from Fine Young Cannibals. He drives me crazy, and while
that was beautiful.
Thank you. I'm pretty good at falsetto.
Keep singing that.
But I never thought of him as black. Like, it's not that he wasn't black. It's I don't think he thought of himself as black. You know what I mean? Like, at the time, he thought of himself as American. He thought of himself as the world culture, like this fusion thing. And so it's interesting now when we're going back and we're like, no, these people, they were black or they were white or something like that. When at the time they wouldn't have thought of it that way because he's living in New York and he's, feeling like part of a fusion thing. And that's probably happened a few times in history where, in Portugal or in, parts of Italy or in North Africa, racism wasn't happening. And then all of a sudden it's superimposed later. And we have to look back and be like, oh, this guy was a black king or that person was a white king, when really like it wasn't important at that moment.
Right. It's this also the Scythian Confederacy, the Tartaria stuff. Like, we attribute the term Scythian almost colloquially at this point due to how far widespread, this Yamnaya culture and the European influence was, right?
Yeah.
But in reality, it's just so much. It's like such a hodgepodge.
Ooh, look at his Muslim.
Narrow it down. It's just the people within proximity taking after other influences and or uniting under a common banner, assimilating to these same cultures. But the complete people like they're just so caught up in this racist theory that like they want to compartmentalize these people into separate tribes, saying like, oh, it's your narrative in Tartaria is wrong because it belongs to the Hittites or whatever the fuck, right? But like this was a confederacy. This was a one unified movement. But yeah, I don't know if you guys fuck with Asha logos at all, but this most recent video, Internet Connected of Aryan People, pretty much vindicates everything that I've been saying or what we've been saying about Tartaria. But yeah, he puts it together so concisively, better than I could have ever expressed it. Like if you guys could have the time, like honest, just watch the full thing. It's amazing.
Dude, all right. I'll check this out. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Is this what I've been showing to normies and converting them to the Tartaria pill?
Rad. All right. We'll have to watch that. That sounds good. I mean, it's crazy just like how much the world is told. We're told that we have no culture. There's nothing left. Like the only thing you have are the states that exist now. They are so plastic. They're in the process of doing the same thing history did, right? And so we have
culture itself is a fashion, though. We're too romantic about having culture. Culture is eventually going to be meaningless, like art, and we'll have transcended past these things. We're afraid to let go of them, but these are the things we're going to have to shed as we actualize.
Do you think so? Do you think we're going to get to like 2010 Space Odyssey where we shave our heads and we have no culture because like culture's yogurt?
The thing is, the more we shed our culture towards this bland secularism that we were approaching now with this capitalist realism state that we're in, we're seeing a reactionary movement of people trying to bring back culture due to
there's definitely a pendulum swing. But with Seth,
sorry. I think there's something about globalism that's functionally unsustainable at a certain point, and we haven't. I mean, we're approaching it, and we have been approaching it for quite some time.
Globalism is a culture and a fashion. I'm talking about like transcending, like I'm not talking about like Babylon, like the world is united into one nation and one currency, and that's why we have no more culture. I'm saying like all of the stuff is based off of misconceptions. Like even people are talking about racism. If you repeat the word racism, you must believe it's a functional term, and it's not, because still in school books today, the word race is all of humanity is one race. We know this in one side of our brain, and then out of our mouth comes the word racism, implying that human beings are different races. And in these ways, these are the things we need to shed and we need to let go of. Where this is all trends. This is like, that's like culture. It's like cultural to say racism when you mean, what do you actually mean? Problems with others, any kind of other. It could look exactly like you. It could be your twin. You know what I mean? It's people have problems with other people. We misconceive what humans are and what our interactions are and what culture is and all this stuff. And we have all these romantic attachments that are holding us back from evolving mentally.
I was going to say you're genius, because another person that describes a lot of the other is Byung-Chul Han, who we mentioned earlier. Great genius. You should check him out.
Cool.
And Martin Buber is all about the I and thou, unanimity -1. And so we have this idea of the separate self, or there's I and then there's thou.
Right. So we have to get past the informational stage and be like, we just had so much information on Tartarian spread and stuff like that. Now we need to what is the meaning? Like, what is the inference? Once everyone's convicted and believes you and you're vindicated, then what? What's the lesson? What's the meaning?
But really, it's from my pursuit into all this, finding actual documentation, the legitimacy of all this was for me, proving the existence of Abrahamic lore and God.
It's proven to me. Now I want to know the meaning and how do I apply that to my life? Because you've convinced me. I'm easy to convince on this kind of stuff.
The thing you just said is interesting because we've talked about all the secular science and facts about this group, but it is interesting that according to all these books on those secular scientific facts and everything we have going back, it's about a group that are leaving Akhenaten, Moses kind of thing. There's 12 tribes that are going all over the world, and they're building this religion, which is it's a technology to them, that you have temples that do these rituals that create consequences, right? So this is the same kind of what's it called, the tabernacle. The tabernacle, if you look at maps of Tartary, it's tabernacles that they're establishing everywhere. And this idea of it being Abrahamic, because they believe that they're praying to this Aten, this one source thing, it does become more relevant that they believe that, I think.
I love it how you say they established these separate tabernacles, because in Slavic, they call it the Garthar. Yeah.
And so is the implication that there's a lot of different directions people take this, that all humanity is the 12 tribes, or that there's Tartarias that is the descendants of the 12 tribes, and then there's another group of people that are contraindicated or against the 12 tribes?
Well, if you go ancient aliens, I'm sure it's a lot weirder, but the idea that there's a oneness, I think, is something more universal and inclusive than whether or not.
So it's all of humanity is descended from the 12 tribes. That's what Rastafarians believe. I'm just trying to.
I like that one more. I'm not saying that's right, but I like that. But
the one contention is we have to recognize there's a war between the 11 tribes and one specific tribe that have separated from the rest. The lineage of Esau, which sold its birthright to belong to Israel for 20 pieces of silver. And then through this, I have the screen cap in Seth Garrett DMs, but Esau sold his birthright and was subsequently killed by Hushim for doing so. And ever since then, the sons of Esau have vowed war, have vowed vengeance and war against the tribes of Israel for excommunicating them from Israel. And this is where we get Ashkenazi Jews from, and then their fight for legitimacy towards Israel. Because,
I think there's some evidence for that, but also the entire history of the 12 tribes is them warring with each other, and their father having to move them to different sides of the river. That too. I just don't think that the story of mankind in reality is that there's one kind of people who are permanently separated and antagonists.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, but that's what the Babylonian Talmud says. So, even the Jews believe this. So
it just seems to my mind to be mathematically inaccurate. In my brain, there's no slot for that in my brain.
But I'm just going by the
right
Babylonian Talmud, because this is what the Jews believe in.
I do believe that all the evidence of people, the way people spread and how we have the disparate, the similar cultures in disparate places and stuff. I totally believe it, but it would require such a mountain of evidence that really ticks something in my brain, changes something in my brain to convince me that there's one kind of human who's permanently separated and removed.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a permanently separate remove, but I do think that we're a lot more diverse than we realize. And I think that as we start to study hominids of different kinds, we're finding more and more that humans have gene flow yet are unique. And that's going to be a convoluted thing, because we just said, is it that we're all one, or is it that we're not? And I think the answer is going to have to be something in between. Because we have changed a lot, but we also came probably from different kinds.
I think there is one culture that's totally separate, and that would be the people who came up with the idea of the sacred and the profane, and that most people are profane and don't deserve illumination, or don't seek illumination, or can't handle illumination. And that system doesn't work. And that is the system of othering. Everything's the same except for one thing. It's now
Masonic
we have a
hierarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but have you
that kind of thinking locks you into a state of constant turmoil. If that's true, then we're screwed. So it's like, there's not enough evidence to say that it is true. It's just it's strongly evidenced, maybe, or maybe it's not, but it's not proven. So like, I'm out to disprove that would be better.
Yeah, no, all this
and that's what
meritocracy.
dialectic is. Sorry.
Yes, sorry to interrupt, Andreas, but like all this meritocracy we're seeing in the West comes from the Masonic hierarchy of the education system they established. You know, the 13 years of grade schooling that you go through, of like, you know, once you go through that, you go to college, and then since you go to college, they tell you everything you learned in grade school is bullshit. Learn this, and then once you've completed your undergraduates, your master's program, they tell you everything you learned in your undergraduate is bullshit. You got to learn this. So yeah, it's the Masonic hierarchy, Ren.
Yeah. They had me skip classes because they didn't want me to have to unlearn things.
Right.
I mean, I feel like. So also, you sent this Gardnar, right?
Gothard. I mean, this is province in Greenland, but really the word Gothard means guard or like stronghold in old Norse, old Slavic languages, right? This is just a province in Greenland, but if you want to actually look into the etymology of the word Gothard instead of the Greenland province, yeah. These were Slavic strongholds all across Russia that eventually pretty much formed Tartaria.
Ah, okay. So
yeah.
These are like, so Stonehenge is a Gothard. All right.
Essentially, right?
Yeah. That's nuts. All right. Well, we're about the end. Is there anything else you guys wanted to you wanted to share? Like, you guys have any comments on this? Either way.
I just want to give one more quote from Byung-Chul Han.
Yeah.
Great quote today. Han argues that subjects become self-exploiters. Today, everyone is an auto-exploiting laborer in his or her own enterprise. People are now master and slave in one. Even class struggle has transformed into an inner struggle against oneself. The individual has become what Han calls the achievement subject. The individual does not believe they are subjugated subjects, but rather projects, always refashioning and reinventing ourselves, which amounts to a form of compulsion and constraint, indeed to a more efficient kind of subjectivation and subjugation.
That's pretty important, actually, because the amount of effort we put. I was just saying earlier, like, that hell is seeing what you could have been, and I mean, I don't know, because I've been messing with that in my head a lot. I'm not sure if I agree with it or if it's just like a strong thought, but it might not be what you could have been, or I don't know, but it does seem related to this idea of like the self and the worship of the self and trying to make the self like the most powerful the self can be.
Yeah, right. But what you could have been is like a million different things.
Yeah, but like the thing. Yeah, but the thing you want, like the greatest thing, like Jet Li's the one, you know.
Hey, bro, don't even worry about it. You get to reincarnate constantly, man. It's a never-ending.
I think you get 613 times if you do it right, and I'm on 612. So I don't know, maybe not. I think I'm running out of style here.
But also another thing, if you like Byung-Chul Han, you should really look into Mark Fisher. I don't know if you have his book Capitalist Realism. Fucking hits the nail on the head of everything.
Capitalist.
No, I'm down. I haven't. Yeah.
His book's fucking impeccable, and Mark Fisher was like, he was so down and about his message that he ended up killing himself.
Nice.
I mean, he believed what he wrote down to a fucking T, man. And
that's why we need philosophy. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you leave yourself with a question mark. You know,
right?
And it just turned yellow.
That's the crazy aspect of it. Like, the more, like, I'm totally down with all of these subjects about where culture is going, and like, but I still also can't help but feel as like we can attempt to shield ourselves from it. Like, what the discovery of the problem should be the sort of panacea, like, oh, I don't have to do this shit. And I guess I didn't read any Mark Fisher, but like, for example, like Han, his big recommendation is like, oh, just literally do nothing for hours in a day. Just sit down, don't do anything, don't do shit. No one can control you. You're just there with your own thoughts. It's great, it's liberating, it's fucking amazing,
dude. I'm like living proof of his fucking thesis, man. I've been unemployed for 3 years, bro. It's been fucking lit. I found out the origins of the Ainu, the Arabic connection to Korea. I'm making fucking strides no other anthropologist is doing, man, just for being unemployed.
Yeah, and not having to worry about what other people value you as, right? Well, Ping, what do you think? Do you think it's worth pursuing insanity, or do you think we should conform to like what people want of us so they don't think we look like schizophrenics? What do you think? Should we just be talking about J-Lo? What do you think?
I mean,
I think life's a balancing act, man. You gotta find the balance.
Yo, that Marcus Aurelius quote, life is not about what? Give me a sec.
That's what I'm gonna start calling Pink Trip, Marcus Aurelius. That'll be your new nickname. That fits you pretty well. I can see you
listening to other
play.
people's speech will make your internal dialogue seem crazy to you, but you're never hearing anyone else's internal dialogue. So never convince yourself that you're crazy because you can't compare yourself to what's going on in other people's heads.
But right. Yeah, Marcus Aurelius infamously is quoted for saying the object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane. So yeah, I'm fucking all about it, man.
Yeah. Well, and then in terms of ALF, it's a hard end for that ALF symbol there. So point is, it's tied in. We made it work. Everybody, make sure you guys watch Pink Trip. Let's go to Pink Trip's channel real quick. I'll show you.
Sunday nights. I'm doing live stream on Sunday nights. It's not as wild and it's a little more normy, but you might enjoy it.
You think that, but I'm gonna make sure that I can help make it like weird. I'll be there. I'll be quietly like backing you up in your format, but I wanna help out. I can't.
Yeah,
wait.
We gotta find a way to get you on because it's hard. I already have 3 people. And
I'm patient. I can wait.
You do more than 3, it gets just difficult.
It's all right.
When the fuck are we appearing on like InfoWars or Joe Rogan, man? We gotta like contact these people. Because like Andreas, you got Alex Jones's contact information,
and I have Joe's if we need it.
Pink Trip also has been featured in Joe Rogan a lot, so like
I think you just gotta. I think that, so. Here's my theory on that: like you either go to the place. Like, so you're in Texas, so you're around, or also you like inject yourself into the lives of people because men in their later years, like after 20 and 30 I don't know if it's later, but like they get to a point where they don't like bringing new people in. So if if you figured out a way of meeting somebody within a year or 2, you're someone they've met. You know what I mean? You're not a stranger because you like, so in a lot of ways, just like the fact that you exist is a familiarity in a very uncomfortable and scary world because most men are just little boys. So, giving people that opportunity to have you at a distance for like a year probably is the way to go if you want to like be around Joe Rogan or something like that. But also like, why would you want to work for other people? Like, haven't you learned anything? Sorry,
it's not working for the people. It's just like getting that name out there, bro. You're getting a feature.
I'm sick of what happens with that.
Because Joe Rogan has like Graham Hancock and like fucking all the other like ancient alien type people, right?
If Rogan gets obsessed with Tartaria, then I think that might be a possibility. We need to get
him on Tartaria pill, bro.
He had Sam on. Sam Tripoli was on, and he just said all kinds of stuff that we talked about before.
But it wasn't really cohesive.
He doesn't know all the things because I just ranted at him once. But he's pretty good. I mean, he's just
Joe Rogan doesn't want to hear those kinds of things. Like he's a bigger picture guy too. He's gonna be like, what? Like he'll probably half believe you, half not, but just be like, what?
And also like, because his show's
Jamie, do we have that drink? Do we have the CBD drink?
Yeah, because like the show's designed to hit like normal people that are just trying to like.
He'd start asking you about like other stuff. You'd be like,
but you'd be surprised the amount of normal people that are interested in Indo-European theory, man. Like I attract all sorts of random people that just like give a shit about this.
It's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profound mad society, says Shalabia. I love it.
Speaking of Joe Rogan, he just shot the biggest bull elk I've ever seen.
Nice.
There's a picture of it. Like it's humongous, dude.
That guy's crushing, man.
Have you heard an elk bugle?
I think on Rogan. I heard it once.
Yeah, the elk calls. Yeah,
dude. What do you call an alligator wearing a vest?
What?
An investigator.
Sweet.
That doesn't count.
You forgot to promote everybody else.
Yeah, I was about to say that. We're gonna end the stream on that.
Yeah. I really was. Pink Trip though. Make sure you guys watch Pink Trip. Go to VBDC. Got Linktree. I'm sorry, VBDC. Linktree. Or there it is. Linktree/VBDC. Go to his YouTube. I don't know if the Twitter's still up because I think he forgot.
No, I got rid of my Twitter.
Get that back. We need that. But go to your Instagram, subscribe to the Instagram. Well, just like log out for a week when you have to. Everyone.
No, I'm only doing music videos, and occasional Wednesday Ultra. That's it.
All right. Well, that's cool. I don't blame you for that. Go to American Time Machine because American Time Machine. He's a beautiful, handsome man and makes amazing music. He just put out this new album, Game Over, which is just like interesting, ambient, emotional, evocative kind of thoughts and feelings and. It's just really good. I like to make art and think and read while listening to American Time Machine. I encourage you to do the same. Very cool. Good job, Kurt. What's up?
The greatest lie is that we can be authentic.
I mean, no, but I do. Yeah, that's true. I do listen to your music. Check out this one. Play it. Huh? All right, I give up. Point is, it's great music. Look at Joe Biden's. And Gunwoo, he's secret, but if you go to Tartary Nova Discord, you can find him in there. Okay. We good? Yeah.
Oh, wait, hold on. I just got this shirt from Commando Store that came in today. RIP Prigozhin.
Oh, my God. You really are in the army. Peace.